I guess if one doesn't have a sense of humor about it, life really isn't very funny, is it? It's kind of just morose. So this is a broadcast of the Portland Insight Meditation Community. It is the 17th of May, 7th of 2021. And this is a time when caution is thrown to the winds and masks are flying off around the country. Sure hope it doesn't lead to a catastrophe, another catastrophe. So, I do have a little reading. It's from Pir Vilayat Anayat Khan, the son of Hazrat Vilayat. Oh well, the mind is not working. Hazrat Anayat Khan, who as a young man came from India and was the founder of Western Sufism, which is a religious tradition in which there's honoring of all the great world traditions. Anyway, he said this. In the Sufi tradition, there is a saying, overcome any bitterness that may have come because you were not up to the magnitude of the pain that was entrusted to you. Like the mother of the world who carries the pain of the world in her heart, each of us is part of her heart and therefore endowed with a certain measure of cosmic pain. You are called upon to meet it in compassion and equanimity instead of self-pity and despair. The secret, offer your heart as a vehicle to transform cosmic suffering into love. Overcome any bitterness that you may have come because you were not up to the magnitude of the pain that was entrusted to you. That's an interesting twist, isn't it? Overcome any bitterness that may have come because you were not up to the magnitude of the pain that was entrusted to you. Like the mother of the world who carries the pain of the world in her heart, each of us is part of her heart and therefore is endowed with a certain measure of cosmic pain. You are called upon to meet it in compassion and equanimity instead of self-pity and despair. The secret, offer your heart as a vehicle to transform cosmic suffering into love. Entrusted with a certain measure of cosmic pain. Life sure isn't like Leave It to Beaver. Some of you probably never even saw Leave It to Beaver. So, I like to remind myself each day, and then remember through the day about the refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha.
Wow, that was an answer. I'll talk to you later.
Oh, Kathy, you're unmuted. It's okay. The morning is ruined, just like that. Poof. Oh dear. I just remembered something. I went to see Stomp, a marvelous musical, rhythmic thing on Broadway. No, it was off Broadway. Anyway, and someone's cell phone went off. And the entire cast, they had planned this, obviously. Our entire cast stopped and pointed at the person with the cell phone. It was awful. It was also funny in a certain kind of way, but boy, you want to be sure you turn off your cell phone. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. And now it's time to sit. To be here. To be awake to the fact of contact with the chair, with the floor, with life. The mystery is right here. There's a body. It keeps renewing itself day after moment, day after day. Of course, they don't last forever. I spent a while yesterday sitting with the body of an old friend of mine, Clark Hansen. He was the leader of a Buddhist group here in town, about my age. And as is true with such things, of course, the leftovers didn't really quite look like him, even though they hadn't been doctored in any way. But here we are in this moment with the living experience, with breathing in and breathing out. With consciousness arising with the body. There is breathing in and there's breathing out. There is awareness of breathing in and breathing out. There is the mind wandering. Each and every breath has a beginning. Just like each and every lifetime. And we can take as a practice being present to the beginning of a breath, to the full rising, the decline, and then the vanishing. In the realm of mind, there could well be desire, wanting something to be different. There could be disliking of what's occurring. Aversion, even hatred. There could be restlessness, agitation, worry. Or there could be sloth and torpor, dullness, sleepy, groggy. There could be doubt. Doubt in the practice, doubt in one's own capacity to do it, doubt in the teachings. And with all of these so-called hindrances, the primary intervention is to simply know them for what they are. Mind manifesting as these attributes. And so no matter what's happening, if we dare to bear with it, this measure of cosmic pain, we are mysteriously free. And there's no predicting what will come up in the mind. We practice the mystery of mindfulness. Sometimes the mind gets very quiet. It may rest, awareness may rest easily, effortlessly even, on the sensations of breathing, or simply be present for whatever arises. Other times the mind might be quite busy, frantic even. It could be grieving, or it could be rehashing old conversations. It could be planning. Whatever's happening, it is all and everything grist for the mill of the emerging wakefulness, emerging equanimity and love. Moment after moment, it is now. Life mysteriously unfolds, manifests in awareness. What a strange thing. Thoughts tend to have a momentum of their own. Unobserved, they go on and on. They summon associations. They remind us of old experiences. And the untrained mind can daydream and fantasize quite effectively. And the body can't tell the difference between imagination, an imagined catastrophe and a real catastrophe, for instance. So we can keep ourselves quite stressed. On the other hand, a body sits here. Some body sits here right now and breathes and can be awake to what's happening. It takes a certain determination and wise view, a certain willingness to bear with what arises in order to meditate like this. The various distractions and trance states are seen for what they are. And some of them we may have dwelt within for our entire lifetime. Attitudinal choices and decisions we made when we were very small, pre-verbal. One of those is to live within time. I watched with my 2 children how many years it took to get them to live within time. Hurry up, we have to go, I'll be late. Interrupt what you're doing now because it's time for bed. Or you can have 5 minutes to do that. And so we can observe in our meditation time, are we sort of watching the clock? Are we scoring points by sitting for 23 minutes? Or does it become simply sitting here? I am willing to sit simply here. It's always now. Now with this in-breath, now with this out-breath. Now with wandering mind and now with concentration. Now. Please notice the experience of this moment. Is it acceptable? Should it be somehow different? And it's wise to remind ourselves of what we bring along with mindfulness. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. Only through this attitude of profound acceptance can one really experience reality as it is. And inevitably we will discover that there are pockets or waves, tsunamis sometimes of suffering, pain of different kinds. It is skillful to remind ourselves, to practice, whenever I'm suffering or hurting in any way, it is my intention to hold myself in sweet compassion. Allowing there to be room in the heart, in awareness, for just how difficult life is at times, perhaps often. I aspire to hold myself, my experience, in sweet compassion. And when I perceive suffering around me, I aspire to hold that person or those persons or that group in sweet compassion. But not in such a way that I fry, but with some great equanimity at all, recognizing the way of the world. Recognizing the truths of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and the voidness, the emptiness of self. And please let us now acknowledge the reality of the life in the body. Notice the contact of the body with the chair, with the floor, with the clothing. Bring awareness into the neck and the throat, the cheeks and the eyes. the forehead and scalp. If there are any residual tensions in the forehead, see if you can just relinquish them. It doesn't take wrinkling the forehead to concentrate or to be present. And noticing now the intention to allow the eyes to open. And before opening them, perhaps summoning to thought, summoning to mind and heart, a blessing for those you see when your eyes open. A blessing, what does that mean? A wishing well, an attitude of kindness. Our attitudes are profoundly impacted by experiences in infancy and childhood, and by media. But what if we choose? What if we could choose in the present moment? I really want to be as loving as I can, as compassionate. And so we might think a thought like, I hope you have a wonderful day of mindfulness. May your awareness be such that you can not suffer too much from pain. And then, when the moment is there, letting the effort be made and let the eyes open, and then they're seeing. Hello. I'm grateful that you made the effort this morning to get up and come and be here. I find it encouraging and strengthening. Somehow on this screen, it's easy to forget how many people. We're now 62. 62 is a pretty good crowd in the PIMC Dharma Hall of real people. Let's not forget our intention to wish each other well. Oh my goodness, Jim has fallen into the ocean. So, dear friends, there's all the usual things at PIMC. If you haven't tried out some of the other teachers, I encourage you to try to see. Visit Candle's teaching and see. She has such a wonderful approach. Check in on Jim on a Monday night, or Doyle on a Friday before noon, 11:30. Or Gregory on a Wednesday night, or Doug on a Thursday. So, what's happening in your world, in your meditative world? Do you have questions, comments, discoveries, celebrations?
Robert, I do have a question for you.
Hello, Hadley.
Hi. I've been sitting with you now for 30 years, and I have always noticed very clearly how precise you are with starting and ending times, and that especially shows up on these Zoom calls.
Yeah.
I mean, 7 o'clock. you're right there and ready to go. And that's just pretty much the way it is. Maybe a few minutes either way, but you're almost always that way. But today in our sit, you made the comment about giving time to your children. And what's my question? My question for you is how you do it with a grace and peacefulness. I mean, that with that precision, I would almost expect you to be a military sergeant, or my stereotype of a military sergeant. How do you do that? Or how does time occur for you? Or what the heck were you talking about, giving time to your children?
Oh, well, I think more accurate, it would be beating time into my children.
Ouch.
And well, but let me come back to that. How kind of you to speak to my punctuality, because I have this belief that the broadcast should start at, I'm digitally speaking, at 7:00. I mean, it should. And so the fact that it starts a minute or two late sometimes seems very sloppy to me. But, I lived in Switzerland for 2 years. And I'm remembering in Zurich, on the streetcars, every 15 minutes the time would be announced. Die Zeit ist genau. The time is exactly was announced. But anyway, my children. We interrupted my children 10,000 times, maybe more. You've got to get ready for school. Hurry up. We're going to leave. I'm going to be late. Hurry up. You've got 5 minutes to do. And it's in order to live functionally in this world, we have to do that, I think, one way or another. But so there's a paradox. We have to learn to live. One more kind of off to the side comment. I don't think. Well, I'm pretty sure of this. I don't think we were designed to say, I'll meet you at 11:15 here or there, whatever. And then we do all these things. Oh, you were 3 minutes late. You clearly don't have any respect for me. We have all these trips that we do in the mind. But I think we were actually designed to make dates this way. You know that I'd like to meet you. And you know that place where the river makes the big S bend? It's the valley where the snowy mountains are on this side, and then the lower ones are here. There's that place where the willows come down into the water. They actually touch the water. I'll meet you there at the full moon. Sometime around midday. I think that's how we were built. We were not built to live digitally. And there's a certain violence that's required to live digitally. And we're always, in fact, I had a realization the other day. It was quite powerful. The mind was very quiet. And then there was this subterranean, almost completely unconscious checking on how long do I have? I need to be out of here in 15 minutes. There was some sense time came in as a concept that structured the entire experience. And then with that emergence of time came as a conscious phenomenon, it was possible to not be in that. And there was another level of So I'm a great believer in if I have to be on a schedule, I use an alarm quite frequently, so that I can. Well, actually, at the beginning of my individual meetings with people, and in PIMC meetings, we always start with 5 minutes of sitting, and I always use a timer, because then I too can let go of time. Because otherwise, I'm trying to remember time, and time is quite a tyranny. So does that relate to your 30 years? Are we that old?
You are. I'm not.
Oh, the proper Zen reply. Excellent. So thanks, Had. timelessness.
Interesting that there's a clock behind you as you say that.
Yeah. You notice it's not working, though.
Yeah, that I didn't know.
No, it is right, but only twice.
It's actually a picture behind me, not a clock.
As you were talking about time, this is a concept that I also find very interesting, and I was listening to a physicist say that there is no time, it's time-space. It's one word, it's always been one word. It's a concept that they understand. I wasn't sure exactly what he was talking about, but our culture, and someone else mentioned in the chat about associating time with white and white supremacy and Western beliefs. But when you compare our culture to more third world cultures or more primitive cultures that don't live agriculturally, their concept of time is meet you over by the willow tree at the full moon. And I think that you're right, that we weren't designed to be watching our wrists and watching the sun in such a linear fashion. So it does set up a sort of violence within us to do something. That level of anxiety, it does become very intense. So time is a fascinating concept, and yet just a concept. Thanks.
You know, we can be very abstract about time and have lots of complex theorizing. And I heard Dharma teachers for years say, there's no such thing as time. And then I tried to think my way through it. Is that true? Are they right? And I discover that when I settle back into this moment, there's the experience of this moment. And the past doesn't exist. Where is it? I can conjure it up again in a moment, right? Remember something that happened yesterday. But then when is that happening? What's happening now? And that realization of time being a concept is in a certain way, it's a very simple realization. It's not a complex thing at all. It's simply through being awake now. And then we realize, there's a thought of the future. Well, that's the future. But where does that exist? It only exists as a thought now. And it's only by going into thought and conceptualization that time makes the least sense. Now, of course, it's useful. We have to live functionally in this. If this broadcast started an hour later, an hour earlier, it couldn't exist, because we live our lives inside this fabric of time, this agreement of time. And every time we come to meditate, we can relax into the fact that there's only this moment now. And so all the problem solving and all the stuff we do in mind that keeps us so tight, for at least a little while, we could set our clock for 40 minutes or half an hour. For this time, quote, this box of experience, I can relax. I can let go of this concept, this notion of time. And it's just not abstract. It's not a theory. It's simply, I don't have to hold tight. Incidentally, I meant to mention this generally. I don't track what happens in the chat because I can't. I think Jim is doing so. But we talked about turning off the chat so that people would stay focused on the. But we decided that you can chat if you want. Though during the meditation, I recommend not. But I saw something here pass through, somehow I saw it. Speaking of time, when will PIMC open? Well, by the end of, hopefully by the end of this week, we will know what's happening with the ridiculous permit process with the city. And once we get a go on the permit, there then is, for reasons unknown, a 2-week waiting period. And then there's a 62-day plan. It's all very, very thoroughly laid out, checklists and stuff, that the project will take 62 days to do. After which time we need a week or two to organize, no doubt. And so what's that? It's 3 months. 3 months from now, we could quite possibly do an opening at PIMC. May it be so. I've heard people complain about the permit process here in Portland, and it's a problem. The cost to businesses of permits taking so long is really, we were closed. We told the renters they had to be out of their offices April 1. Because we were pretty guaranteed, we thought, that we would be building by April 10 or so. And so we're not getting rent from our renters. And here we are, 6 weeks later. And they're thinking, they're getting a little fed up that it keeps going out, and they may well go somewhere else. So it's a problem. Of course, one among a few hundred, right, problems. Things that don't turn out like we want them to turn out.
Hi, Robert. It's Dave Mayer. I know you
Mayer.
I know you want to keep things out of the abstraction, but it in this talking of time, the coordination of time happened because of the railroads. Before, 12 noon in Boston was different than what 12 noon in Savannah, Georgia might have been, and it was because the railroads needed to be specifically coordinated that the whole system was ratcheted into very close connection. It's made even worse with GPS and cell phones, where we're doing atomic clocks in space to make sure we're all agreed as to when that moment is. And it's an industrial thing, and it feels, I'm thinking about your letting go of time. We are I feel internally ratcheted to this, this sense of this, then this, then this, then this. And to let go of time means, in some sense, not being a part of the social order that we are in, although it sounds like the permit department at Portland operates outside of time as well.
Yeah.
And I live with that contradiction, because I can sit, and this morning's sit was a blessing, because I was in torture coming into it, and now I have found space from a deep anxiety that I was living with. Who knows how long it will last? Time again. But in some sense, it's how we perceive our relationship to the world. When we were an agricultural economy, it was, well, this is the time to plant, or this is the time to hunt. This is when the fish are running. That's when I'll meet you by that mountain over there. And we functionally don't live in that world anymore, unless, those few people who are able to live an Aboriginal existence. I think about, I sit with what the aspirations of the Buddhist thought are, and how to, it gets global. How do we bring love to a world that is decidedly constructed not to be loving? And that just seems like an impossible task. And yet, here we are. And as far as the past, I was sitting here, observing each moment as you were speaking about the past and thinking, well, the past is here. It's just here as an accumulation of everything that's happened before. It's just each moment is the next dollop of sand on top of this great diorama or whatever it is. And but in the present is the past. It's here. I'm here because of what my mom and dad did some years ago. So it doesn't feel quite right to say that the past doesn't exist. It's we're on the shoulders of everyone who's done anything that's come before me. Anyway, that's the ramblings of the moment. Thank you.
It's, of course, a paradox. To be functional in our culture, you pretty well need to wear a watch. You got to have, and you got to start and end meetings somewhat on time, and you got to be predictable. And let's try a little experiment. Richard Lang just walked into my mind. I'm going to turn on the spotlight here to myself. Okay. Please look directly at me. I'm going to look at my camera, but I invite you to look at my face, wherever that is on your screen. How many faces do you experience here? The common answer is 2, well, mine and yours. But I invite you to look, to know, to be mindful more closely. There's only one face here. That's mine. What's at your end? What's the experience at your end? It's not a face at my end. What's at my end is a field of knowing, a field of awareness, seeing. But I've been conditioned to go through the world thinking that I have a face. And obviously, I do have a face. But that's not my inner experience. My inner experience is knowing, it's consciousness. So I want to come back to seeing you. Oh, there's David. Hi, David. You popped up onto my... So just as we say, oh, well, of course there's time. I experience time. And the past is here, and my parents are here, but if we reflect on that a little bit, in this moment, those are thoughts. What's the experience of this moment? It's very difficult to get out of the tyranny of thought. But that's why meditation is so stunningly simple. We make it complicated, but all it is be awake, be here now, be awake here now. And that is outside of time. There is no time in now. Not because of fancy thinking, but because that's just reality. And one of the reasons we suffer so much from worry and struggle is it's very difficult for us to truly relinquish thinking. That headless, the teaching comes from the headless way. Forgetting his name. Richard Lang is the the fellow who's my age-ish who teaches it still. The next time you're driving, I have about a 4-mile straight stretch I get to drive on my way to work. Next time you're driving, try this experiment. Soften, stay wide awake. Of course, you don't want to run into somebody. But notice what's really happening. In fact, if you pause to notice, the world is coming at you and then disappearing into you. And you're stationary. You're the center point of all experience. And this isn't a complex theory. It isn't a fantasy. It's the direct experience of the moment if we can get out of thinking. But then even that, when we're in awareness, the thinking comes, the thinking arises in consciousness, and then it too disappears. There's just everything arises into consciousness and then disappears. And to be in that, to be capable of that tuning is to be relieved of all worry. Now, it doesn't mean we don't wind up falling back into worrying and falling back into the pattern, but to have that capacity, that's in a way, well, that's the door to freedom. But it's utterly simple. It's just not complicated. And any thinking we do doesn't strengthen it. I know I'm kind of talking, it seems like talking in circles here, but try to live in the present moment, said the Buddha. Be here now, said Ram Dass. They all say the same thing. Sometimes the books are this thick and sometimes there's no book. But it's always saying the same thing. I only have one Dharma talk, actually.
It is helpful to be reminded that what is thought is not necessarily experience and vice versa.
Oh boy, to have, I mean, it's life-changing to recognize thoughts as thoughts. I'm sure you've heard me tell the story, David, of the, this has happened hundreds and hundreds of times, but I was working at a drug and alcohol treatment center and most of the patients were doctors. And a week or two into their 3-month stay there, I would get to meet with them and begin to teach them mindfulness. And I did my usual song and dance, and then everyone left. And one of the young women came in. She came back up the stairs with tears pouring down her face. And she was a cocaine addict, as I recall. And she said, "Are you saying that with mindfulness, I can get so that I see my thoughts as separate from me and then choose which ones I follow? Choose which?" And I said, yeah, that's part of the idea. And she wept like a baby. You know that weeping that happens when you finally find relief? That she got it. She had years of recovery and she had, a whole lifetime ahead of her. But that reality that we are not our thoughts, to truly have a moment of knowing, oh, that's a thought. Or some in our childhood, we also have experiences where we kind of get an emotional setting. This is who I am. This is how I am in the world. And when we get even a second of a glimpse of that, we realize, whoa, I'm not my whole personality. And then, of course, we are it. We fall back into the trance again and again and again and again and again. But then if we have a regular practice, I'm a great proponent of regular practice, until life becomes meditation, and then I still like to have a regular practice. But to be able to have at least a window every day when we remember that there's nothing to remember, when we remember that it's okay to just exist as consciousness. Words. Hope they're useful. Speaking of ending, it's 11 minutes after 8. Actually, I have a, hang on, will it show? I have a great watch face right now. Oh, hang on. Oh, there we go. Ah. This watch is fun. You can put all kinds of things on it. But if you wiggle it, it's not going to do it. If you poke it, it kind of gets all jiggly. I like that. So there's time, but it really is pretty fluid. I see Molly's here with us this morning. Hi, Molly. So anybody else sitting with something you'd like to share, please do.
Hey, Robert. This is Kathy.
Hello, Kathy.
Yeah, I just I came here apparently to hear the Sufi reading this morning, among other things. But I
wondered why it popped up.
Yeah, I just came back from a family wedding, and I'm just recognizing this. It just makes me feel more part of the universe when I see this about that we're each endowed with a certain measure of cosmic pain, and the idea of offering my heart as a vehicle to transform cosmic suffering. So the feeling of separation, or the feeling of not being able to connect, is a universal thing, and I get to help transform that in my own life. And I'm just offering an appreciation for this reading and this meditation this morning, and to this perspective of the pain that I'm feeling is not only my pain. I'm given this as a gift to help transform into love in the world. So I just needed to say that out loud. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm guessing the wedding was a bit of a mixed bag.
Well, it was. It's my brother and his wife, and it was in Nashville, Tennessee, which was like a foreign country to me. So, and I'd never been there before. But it was mostly amazing and lovely and clarifying. So I just think that all of those things.
Do they speak English in Nashville?
They do. They do. Yes. No, that part was great. The people were lovely. Yeah.
Great.
Robert, I like to live in a very profound world, so I want to thank you for bringing Beaver to the altar of our appreciation this morning. Leave it to Beaver.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My family wasn't like that at all. Well, on that happy note, Molly, would you like to sing us out of here? Let's go with, I've got a throat that's not working very well right now. Maybe you would guide us in singing, Molly. Hang on, I want to make you big on the screen. So please unmute yourselves if you would like, and we'll have a harmonious singing of May All Beings Be Happy. There we go.
May
all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu.
Thanks, Molly.
Thank you.
Good job, Molly.
Yay.
Everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a wonderful day, dear friends, in and out of time.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Tamara.
Bye, Had. Bye, Jim.
Bye, Tamara. Have a fun day.
Oh, you too. Bye. I love your picture.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing back May All Be Means Be Happy.
Bye, Molly.
Thank you, Aaron.
Bye, Molly.
Bye.
Here we go. Ready for the big jump? Hi, Sherry.
Here we go. Do it
Hello,
on
Allison.
time.
Goodbye, Had.
Bye, Robert.
Goodbye, dear friends on Facebook.